Vaesen is a game of investigation, a cottage horror, and it is set in the mythic North, which is Scandinavia of the 19th century. Everything from 1801 to 1899. You can have all sorts of things in there. You've got a train in this one, so I guess it's a bit later. We're going to be playing a game I wrote, which is very specifically an introduction to the game. Free League asked me to write it for the convention circuit this year. So the original plan was to showcase it first of all at our big UK games exhibition, UK Games Expo, way back in the beginning of the year in May or something like that. As we know, all of that hasn't worked, so it's only been played online. But the idea is it's a relatively gentle introduction without too much horror or danger to the characters, and it also only takes 2 hours to play, or less than 2 hours. So that's our target this time, to finish before your midnight. If your viewers like it, though, it's available on the Free League Workshop on Drive-Thru RPG. Only in English, I'm afraid.
Good. Now I can also say hello to Evie, who's now in the upper left corner. Hello, Evie. You're living in the UK, and although you're not native speaker, you're one of our secret weapons right now for Nations Play.
Oh, thank you very much.
Have you played one of the Free League's games before? Free League games?
I actually have to admit I am a virgin. But I've read up about those, and I was very excited to do this tonight. So
excellent. Well, I've got to say, all the Free League games are really easy to pick up, so you'll have no problem with dice rolling or anything like that.
Excellent.
Then, in the middle, in the lower tier, there's Julia. And Julia is not only a long-time friend of ours, she's also in kind of after the job an author for several different games. She's written for Cthulhu, among other things, and she was very, very keen on playing Vaesen, because I guess the mixture of 18th century and a little bit of horror and mystical North, that's exactly kind of your vibe.
Yes. I'm definitely desperate to play. Yeah.
Excellent. And then we've got Tim on the lower right, and Tim is also one of our veterans. He plays a lot of games with us. We've also had him on another Free League game just like 2 or 3 weeks ago. We played Alien, and his character died a very gruesome death. So
that's really nice.
It was a really nice and terrible death. I hope it's going to be a little bit less terrible for you.
Yes, so I didn't suffer.
It was very quick, yes. But since Matthew promised this to be a gentle introduction into the world, into the game of Vaesen, I hope you're not going to end up cut in half and half eaten by an alien. I think it's going to be nice.
That hasn't happened so far in all the times I've played this game.
We will see. You've never played with these people before. Nico is a friend of ours, and we've been playing several games regularly for quite some time now. And I guess this is the first time that we're playing one of the Free League games together, right?
Yes, it is.
That's brilliant. So let me introduce the setting. Vaesen takes place, any campaign of Vaesen that you play will take place around all the players representing members of the Society. The Society is an ancient, learned institution that has fallen on hard times, and you're part of a revival of the Society, or generally players are part of a revival of the Society. All Thursday's children, that is, gifted with the sight, so they see things that normal people don't see, and the things they see are the Vaesen, the spirits and the creatures that keep themselves hidden from the world, particularly in the 19th century as the world gets more industrialized. But for this adventure, which was designed to be people's first experience, You're all characters who haven't yet joined the society, and you may not even have met. So, let us set the scene. It is summer in Sweden. You are on a train westward out of Uppsala to a small village that you have been called to. Now, you don't necessarily know each other. Some of you may know the two recipients of the letter, but I'll reveal who those are. But as the train travels up through the mountainous valleys and the wooded areas, the ticket inspector comes and you find that all of you sitting in this carriage are all going to the village of December. December is a relatively new station on this line. You might not know much about the village, but you've been called there, or two of you at least have been called there by two letters, and the rest of you are traveling with each of these receivers. When you hear that you're all going to the same place, you introduce yourselves to each other. But we're going to start off with, let me just find my letters, with the priest. Is the priest here?
Yes, she is.
Excellent. You have had a letter. Now, you are somewhat nonconformist. You've had a letter from somebody who you did not get on well with at the seminary.
Oh,
but
dear.
This man, Father Peter, has written to you in somewhat of desperation. And I'm going to read this letter out to you since you hadn't had a chance to read it in advance. It says, "My esteemed colleague, we did not part on the best terms in the seminary, and you should know that I have little respect for your nonconformist beliefs or for your methods. However, though it pains me, I must put that aside and beg for assistance. I write only after much prayer. For, as you know, I am not inclined to believe in spirits, save the Holy Spirit, or ghosts. You may be aware that I have a living in the parish of December, godly folk without scandal, until now. The village is consumed with talk of spirits and fey creatures. The daughter of a well-respected farmer hereabouts, Margareta Oberg, is with child, out of wedlock. She insists the father is her betrothed, a soldier who died in battle, and villagers are convinced that she is cavorting with one of the fey spirits. It seems that most of the village is going mad. There is clearly no fey creatures to uncover, but I wonder if you could visit and investigate. With your arcane methodology, you might convince them that their fears are unfounded." And it's signed Father Peter. Is one of you a soldier?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, you have also received a letter. And your one says, "My dearest friend and comrade, I trust this finds you well. Here, things go as well as might be expected. The snows have receded, and with the sun's warmth come new supplies and positive cheer. All around me, I hear encouraging talk of victory, not just from staff and officers, but men too, even the sergeants. I look forward to inviting you to spend next Christmas at home with me and Elsa. And the children, both of whom, Elsa assures me, are fit and well. I write begging a favour and admitting a wrong which I trust you shall keep secret. Our mutual friend Thomas Lind is missing. You will have read, I am sure, of his death in action. But that is, I assure you, a result of my own deceit. I reported his heroic end to provide explanation for his apparent absence without leave. Thomas's service, you will know, has been a song of blood and sorrow. When last I saw him, he suffered with soldier's heart and could not act except with nostalgia. He went missing on the morning of a great push forwards. I knew, but no report was made until after the terrible battle. I took it upon myself to imagine a death for him, though I knew in my heart that he was on his way back to December and to his betrothed, Margareta. Since then, I have heard conflicting and confusing reports of his fate. A letter from Margareta thanked me for releasing him from his service and spoke of her happiness to see him again, and yet a second letter from his parents spoke of their sorrow that he was never going to return. I write, hoping that you can travel west and discover the truth. It may be that his parents have guessed my conceit and laid another lie upon mine to protect their son, but I fear our old comrade never made it at home, and his betrothed has become delusional in her grief. Yours, Gustav, Lieutenant Colonel Hendrickson. So those are the two letters that have drawn two parties together on the same train. This may be an opportunity when you discover that you're all going to December for you to introduce yourselves, your characters, to each other. So shall we start with the two receivers of the letter? Shall we start with the priest?
You're muted. Or your microphone doesn't work anymore. I guess we're going to start with the soldier.
Let's start with the soldier then, yes.
In character, or sorry,
so your character. Tell us a little bit about your character. What's his name?
Yeah, funny. I didn't know about the letter. So Gustav was the name I chose for myself. So perhaps this is the reason why we were friends in the army, because we both shared the same letter, even if I thought my name is Gustav Thorn. I'm by birth I was German, but apparently I was a bit out of luck, and so I joined the Swedish army to meet my friend.
Do you have a relationship with any other member of the party?
I'm a bit fond of the writer, seems to be.
And is the writer here?
The writer's here. The writer is a young woman, and she's wearing a travel gown, which probably was very nice and very fashionable a few years back. It's a little bit dusty, a little bit frayed at the edges, and her travel bag, the leather is well kept, but also it's been seen better times, so it's scuffed along all the edges. And she sits there with her travel bag on her knees and is a little bit nervous. Well, young woman, her mousy brown hair, it's just kept up in a very orderly fashion, and she's looking out at the landscape and sometimes just nervously biting her knuckles. And when she's concentrated enough to keep a conversation going, she's talking to the soldier and just exchanging a few nice words.
And what's your name?
Her name is Selma Sundqvist.
Excellent. Has the priest got her voice back?
I should have recovered my voice, yes. I do apologise. I was in prayer probably at the time. The priest is a middle-aged woman who is wearing trousers and a more gender-neutral outfit, you would say, which some might think is quite...
I'm sure Father Peter does not approve.
Scandalous. She wears a small silver crucifix around her neck and is usually very calm, smiling, friendly, and she apparently loves to read religious scriptures, so she carries quite a lot of books with her placed on the seat next to her, and is very friendly, nods to people when they walk past her.
Excellent. And which other character do you have a relationship with?
The occultist, but I don't think we have that character. So
right.
Currently,
here. So, who are our other two characters?
the other two? I think we've got the doctor and the servant, right?
Yeah,
Right.
perhaps I'll just start because Joachim is my servant.
This is appropriate.
I'm playing Dr. Dorothea Borelius. She's a middle-aged woman, a doctor carrying a big bag with all her medical equipment on the train. She has a little bit of a haggard face, streaks of gray hair, and she's, well, very curious, watching the other people on the train, sometimes looking into a book and taking notes, and watching everything quite closely.
Excellent. And your servant?
The servant is Joachim Englund. He's a bit on the older side. He has a nice, soft, round face. He's getting bald, but still has a little goatee. Despite his age, he seems to be pretty tough and strong, to be good in form. Probably from carrying the luggage all the time. He's wearing a T-jacket, vest, and a bow tie. Due to his age, probably his sight is not the best, so he's wearing glasses most of the time, and he's most of the time is focused on the doctor, but if he's not talking to her, he's just looking out of the window, enjoying the view. Yep.
And the view is splendid because you're going up into the mountains. It is not quite midsummer. I think it's May or June, probably more likely to be early June. And so everything is green and verdant. The fields are at their best. The sun shines through dappled trees. And of course, you realize this far north, the days are very long and the nights are very short. However, after you've introduced yourselves to each other, you feel the train slowing down as it pulls into the station at December. And you stop at a relatively small railway station. There don't seem to be many houses around here close by. There appears to be a new station building in a fancy Victorian style, like a small castle, and then a long platform. On the platform, the only other person at the moment, apart from the station master, who's waiting for you all to get off, is a drayman, that is to say, a person with a cart. And he is waiting for a load of milk churns that are now being unloaded from the train, and he is loading them himself onto the back of his cart. Otherwise, as you get off the train and look around for the village of December, you see nothing but green pastures.
It seems very peaceful.
Is this supposed to be the village?
The
Well,
station master hears you say that and says, "Oh no, the village is 3 or 4 miles up the road."
As I sigh after I'm hearing that, carrying my luggage and the doctor's luggage, and oh my, 3 miles, I have to carry this.
Excuse me, good man, is there any possibility that we can get some means of transportation to the village?
Did you telegram ahead, he says, to anybody in the village?
I'm afraid we didn't.
No, we didn't.
And the station master introduces you to the carter, the drayman, whose name I'm just trying to remember because I've forgotten. And Eric, his name is. And he says that he will, if you don't mind traveling with the milk churns, he will give you a lift to the village. But he says it's not too far to walk on a day like today. It's quite a refreshing walk if anybody wants to walk up the hill.
Oh, I'll be fine to walk. You maybe take the elderly gentleman?
I'm looking around me, wondering who this elderly gentleman could be.
Or the lady? But thank you very much. So it's just down the road?
Just up the road. And he explains that the village is... it's seen quite a lot of changes. It used to be what they used to call a sheep corn village. It grew grain and sheep. However, with the coming of the railway, the sort of major landlord in the village, a man he calls... I'm just forgetting everybody's names right now. Oberg, the Mr. Oberg, has really transformed the village into pasture. So now milk is the major product of the village. There's a dairy about halfway between here and the village itself. And he's very fortunate for this job because, of course, what he does is take full churns of milk down to the railway station for transport to the city, and empty churns as he has today, he takes them back to the dairy. He's a very friendly person. He'll quite happily give you all a lift if you're prepared to wait a little bit at the dairy where he has to offload the empty milk churns.
Oh, if we can all fit, I guess. I didn't realize the churns were empty, but then it's probably not. Well,
it will be quite cramped. I think there'll be some of you sat alongside the drayman himself, and some of you on the tail of the cart. But he should be able to fit all 5 of you on there if you desire. 3 on the back, 2 on the front seat.
Oh, then I'll take that. This is very nice of you. And she climbs on board.
Dr. Borelius, do you want to have the lift?
I think it would be better.
Yeah. I have up the cart, and I take the bags to the back of the cart and sit myself down there, so I didn't need to sit in front.
Doctor. Oh, you're a doctor.
Yes.
That's amazing.
I'm a doctor.
What did you study?
Oh, I studied in Uppsala directly. Yeah, I have lived there for probably my whole life.
May I ask, were there many other women with you at university?
Oh no, there are very few of us. Yeah, but I think there will be more in times to come.
This is exciting times. Things are changing so much right now.
So who sat up front with the carter, can I ask?
I think I would like to sit in front and not between the
lady doctor has first choice.
Possible.
Yes, I would think I helped the doctor up to the cart to the front, basically.
Excellent. And there's room for one more on the front if the lady doctor scoots along and sits up close to the carter.
It would be indecent to have the lady doctor sit in front alone, wouldn't it?
It would, yes. I think
with a man that is not related or married to her. Well, I'll happily sit in front with them.
Excellent. So he starts off. The horse is large but old and walks slowly, but it is a pleasant evening. Now, those of you sitting on the back, can I get all 3 of you? This doesn't happen very often in Free League games, but this time I'd like you all to try making a observation roll. Vigilance roll.
That's logic. Oh, I'm a logical person. Very good.
I'm not.
I'm not vigilant, but I'm logic, so 4 dice.
I'm neither.
1 success.
Oh, 1 success.
And for everyone who's not familiar with Free League games, it's a 6 is a success and the rest...
Yes. So you roll as many dice as you have points in vigilance and the associated trait, which, as you said earlier, was logic. And any 6 you get is a success. You only need 1 6 in this game to get a complete success. But if you don't roll any 6s, you can opt to push your roll, that is to roll again. In all the Free League games, there is a cost for that. And the cost in this game is you must take a condition. On your sheets, you'll see there are physical conditions and mental conditions. So with a task like this, you must choose one of the mental conditions. You become exhausted or angry or whatever you want to do. I would say this is probably every time you decide to push the dice, you're weighing up benefit versus risk, of course, and this is a roll, I'll tell you straight away, that you probably don't want to get a condition on. It's a rather flippant roll just to get you started. So who succeeded? Tim succeeded, I think.
Did.
And Mirko?
Yes.
Oh, you all did. Okay. So it's interesting. As you're riding past, I think something catches your eye. The others may well be in conversation with the carter, so they didn't particularly see this. But one of you notices as you come past a bit of stone wall that there is a crow perched on that stone wall, looking at you. Then, as the cart goes past, the crow lazily flaps its wings and lifts off into the air and flies over you towards the village. But as he takes off, the third of you notices that he leaves a cloud of black dust, which is slightly strange for a crow.
Did you see that bird?
Yes,
Yeah.
it seemed it was looking at us.
This seemed a bit unusual.
It seemed kind of sick. Did you see like its feathers were... I don't know. Maybe there's a sickness of the birds going around here. It's like there was dust coming off it.
When he took off, you mean?
Did you know there's like mites that eat feathers and things like that?
Maybe
there's something.
Maybe it was just dust from the stone it was sitting on.
Well, I know that crows don't have the best reputation, but I think they're rather fastidious birds. I see them preening all the time. I don't think it is. Maybe I'm just a little bit nervous. Forgive me. I'm not used to traveling alone, but it seemed weird to me.
Don't worry. If you're really interested, you might ask the doctor. Maybe she knows something about some sort of innocent affects birds. I don't know. I can tell you that.
But I thought she was a human doctor.
Yeah, she is, but maybe she heard something about it. She's more knowledgeable than I am.
Well, I don't want to bother her with things like that. Unless it's maybe dangerous. Can people catch?
Don't worry. I will ask her later.
Like a bird flu? I don't know.
I don't know. Never heard about that.
Yeah, maybe talk to her. We have some time to spend at the at this milkery thing place, anyways.
I don't think there's any reason to suspect any enemy ambush, so I would say it was just a trick of lightning.
Enemy ambush?
Excuse me, are we aware of that commotion at the back?
There isn't one to be expected, so we
Why
should
would
be
there?
vigilant.
I don't think so. I think the two of you at the front are entirely unaware of this conversation going on there. You've got the clanking of churns behind you. You've got you've got somebody to talk to, a local. And I was wondering particularly whether you have a letter and a reason for being here, whether there were any questions you wanted to ask of Eric, who seems to be a friendly, smiling local.
Absolutely. So if he's chatting away anyway, good sir, what can you tell me about December? Is it a nice place to live? What are the people like? And most importantly, how is my dear friend Father Peter? It was.
Well, he says that the village has seen a lot of change recently, but everybody is generally very happy. Except for the village doctor, a man he calls Dr. Raphael, who has lost all his children recently. So he is distraught. And the loss of those children has put the people into a slightly strange mood, he says.
How many, if I may ask, how many children did he have?
Well, he had. It's a rather long story, he said, but this horse is moving slowly, so he's able to give you the time. Everybody in the village was very pleased when Dr. Raphael came to the village. As you might imagine, it's very unusual to have a doctor in a village as small as this. But Dr. Raphael came with his wife, who was a woman who'd gone to university at the village and had persuaded him to come back and bring up their children here. Now, they had 3 children, and she was pregnant with a 4th, but sadly, she died. She and the child died in childbirth. So the doctor was bringing up all 3 children on his own, and one by one, since spring, they've gone missing. And it is said that a spirit in the woods called the Grey Man has taken them into the woods and transformed them.
That is very worrying indeed.
We've looked, he says. When this first started, of course, the days were longer and the nights shorter, but the whole village looked through the woods to try and find sight of the child or this mysterious grey man, and no evidence of them could be found. So that is the thing that troubles the village at the moment. But generally things are good.
That is a bad fate indeed, especially for a doctor who loses his wife and can't help her. So I look at the priest. Perhaps we should talk to Dr. Raphael.
Yes, of course. Maybe he would like to pray. It can help many people in situations that are dire. So we should definitely go speak with the man and offer our support and condolences. Oh, bless him.
He says he's suddenly remembering that he didn't answer a question you'd had about your friend Father Peter.
Yes.
And he says Father Peter is very comfortable, he says. He spends most of his time at the Oberg house as a guest of the Obergs. His church is built on their land, and although he has a very fine parsonage, a house that comes with the church, he seems to spend most of his time in the company of the Obergs. And of course, they eat and drink very well.
Oh, I bet.
And excuse me, good man, who are these Obergs? Are they the wealthiest family here around here in December? Or?
Yes, you would have that right. They are they've always been, since generations back, the Oberg family were always headmen of the village. And now they own quite a lot of the land, and most of the villagers are either tenant farmers of that land or work for the dairy which Mr. Oberg owns. As I do, he says, as a drayman. I now work for the dairy. But he's a fair employer, and he's a good landlord, so people don't have a problem with him particularly.
That's good to hear.
One more question, if I may. Margareta Oberg, do you know her? I think Father Peter mentioned her.
He smiles a bit, and he says, well, I don't know her personally, of course. Not so well, but she's much admired in the village. There is some gossip about her, but I am a man who doesn't like to talk about things like that. It's not my place, he says, and he blushes, and he's genuinely embarrassed by that conversation taking a turn there.
Oh, just to confirm, my dear friend Father Peter mentioned her in one of his letters. who exactly is she? Is she the wife of Mr. Olberg, or is she his daughter?
No,
or...
she's his daughter, he says. And unmarried thus far. She was betrothed to another man, Thomas Lind, in the village. But he died in the war.
Oh, he did? Oh, yeah, that is so unfortunate. God bless his soul. Has she not found another suitor?
No. No. He's too embarrassed to kind of discuss that.
That's fine. I shall dig no more and leave him in peace and talk about the lovely scenery instead.
Yeah. And at that point, he pulls the cart into the dairy. Now, you've got an option here. You can kind of wait while he unloads the churns, or this is now a lot nearer the village. You can go on to the village if you like. He makes that offer to you.
Oh, how long would the wait be? Comes from the back.
Oh, it shouldn't take long because all he needs to do is unload the churns, and then that's the end of his day, and he can take you up to the village. 10 minutes or something like that?
Yeah, then I would like to wait. I'm just going to do maybe a few quick sketches.
Maybe I can shorten the time. I could help you with unloading the...
I could help as well.
He's very grateful for your help, and yes, he will he'll give you a lift up to the village, and the work is done in a third of the time with your help. And so, as the three of you start offloading, he tells you where the churn should go, and he says. Those churns over there are waiting to be loaded on, but they'll wait now until the morning. But these ones we must offload. And he shows you where they go. And as you set to work, who was making sketches?
The writer, Selma. She's
okay, I'd like you to make another observation, vigilance roll.
Yes, I will. And I've got 1/6, so...
Now, this is going to be a opposed roll because somebody is doing something which I don't want you to see particularly. Give me a moment and I'll just remember what I need to roll.
She's just doing really rough and quick sketches, and then she's writing small snippets of text next to her, trying to kind of get a feeling for the surrounding landscape, and makes observations about how the people move and how their voices sound with the open fields around and the noises the milk churns make as they clang together, and just trying to get the whole atmosphere, looking up, looking down, looking up, looking down.
Excellent. Well, one thing that catches your eye as you're doing all this is that crow you saw earlier on. He comes flying down and perches on one of the milk carts. And nobody else has seen this. Only you've seen this.
Well,
he kind of
curious bird, aren't
pushes
you?
with his feet and flaps with his wings. And you're quite surprised to see that he's tipping the milk churn over. Now, this is one of the full milk churns, not the one that the others are unloading, not the ones the others are unloading. And eventually, with some effort of his wings, that milk churn tips and he immediately flies off. And no one else has seen this. The lid comes off the milk churn and milk spills out. Eric hasn't seen this. It's only when the man in charge of the dairy yard comes out and sees the milk spilling. He shouts at Eric and says, "You clumsy oaf! What are you doing? You're spilling tomorrow's milk."
He wasn't even near there. It just...
That's true. We were just unloading the empty ones. He was right next to the cart, so he couldn't have spilled it.
He kind of ignores you, and the way he stalks up to Eric, you feel that there's kind of bad blood between these two. and he's not listening to any argument that doesn't fit in with the way he's seen things. And he says, "You're always spilling things. If you didn't spill my pint in the inn last night, then you're spilling my milk here." Eric, who's been up until this point really friendly with you, he hadn't shown an ounce of anger, turns on the dairyman and accuses him of tripping him up the other day as they were walking together, and it feels that there's some bad blood there, and it looks to you all like this argument might even turn to violence.
Oh, no, we can't let that happen. If they are about to go at each other's throat, I just, as peacefully as I can, try to step in between them and raise my hand.
Well, it just so happens that there's a skill for that.
Oh, is there? How exciting.
Given that you're making this approach, first of all, and not trying to restrain them physically, but to trying to stop them, then you need to succeed in an inspiration test.
All right.
I've got the feeling a priest should be good at that.
I should be good at that, yeah, but I am the worst person when it comes to rolling dice, so let's see what happens.
So how many dice are you rolling?
That would be...
That will be no sound.
Yeah.
We've lost DV sound again.
Hello.
Yep.
Oh, you're back again.
You're back.
Oh, hooray. So that would be my empathy plus my inspiration, is that right?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah,
exactly,
that's 6 dice in total.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Statistics say you have to roll a success.
I do have 2, yes.
You roll 2 successes.
I rolled 2 successes.
Excellent. So, with some well-placed words, you manage to get them not to lift their fists against each other, but they're still kind of grumbling. The dairyman sets about mopping up the spilt milk. The drayman, and with your help, finishes the unloading of the churns, and then is quite keen to get you out of the dairy and up to the inn because he's a little bit embarrassed by the whole incident. He's less friendly and cheerful on that second leg of the journey up to the inn.
Selma's also very quiet. And she's got her little book with sketches and notes, and keeps going through them without showing them to anyone. But slowly but surely getting closer and closer to Thomas. He seems to be a reassuring factor with his military straight posture and background.
Gustav.
Gustav. Oh, you changed your name, Gustav.
Yes, I think who's Thomas?
There never was a Thomas.
Well, there was a Thomas.
There was a Thomas, but he's dead.
We lost Thomas.
He's missing.
I'm pretty
I don't know what he is.
glad that I'm in the back of the cart, so I don't have to deal with him right now.
And I still sit in front, so I would try to calm him down a bit. And I would like to know, do you have, it seems you have some quarrel with that man going on. Is there something going on for a long time?
Not for long, but he has become particularly annoying in these last few weeks. I'm pretty convinced that he took a letter that I had not read. I'd picked it up from the station, and when I got home, I'd lost it, and I'm pretty convinced that he took it from me. I'd put my coat up on the gate post in the dairy yard on a warmer day than today, while I was loading the unloading, I should say, the churns in the dairy, and when I got home, looking forward to reading the letter I had, it had gone. I'm convinced he's done it.
But why should he have taken that letter from you?
Well, if I knew why, I could challenge him on it. But you're right. I could think of no reason why.
Do you know who sent you that letter?
No, I rarely get letters, and I was looking forward to reading it and finding out. Now I shall never know, for I've lost it.
That's a pity.
I did see him in the inn afterwards, and I asked whether he'd seen a letter there, but he denied any knowledge of it.
I understand.
And then there was the argument. Then there was the time that only last night I had a full glass of aquavit, and I turned my back and he knocked it off the table. He denies he was anywhere near it, but somebody did. The evidence was there on the floor. So was my aquavit. I'm not a rich man. I was looking forward to that. He didn't even offer to buy me another.
Perhaps it also could be some misunderstanding in between you, no?
Well, if it is, it's on his side, for I try and be friends with everybody. And I hope I haven't been rude to any of you.
Of course not.
But he is the one. You saw how he behaved. I mean, even if I had spilt that milk, which I had not, then, you know, he had no right to be so angry.
Yeah, you're right with that. I'm sorry for that.
But by the time that conversation is over, he's pulled up outside the inn, and the inn looks, frankly, lovely. Let me tell you a little bit about the inn. It's an old and yet robust building, a haven of light, cheer, and good service. It's coming towards the end of the working day. It's still quite light hereabouts because the evenings are so long. But there are staff from the dairy and the fields coming in and taking a drink and even eating as well in here. And the place just feels alive. There's a friendly landlady who welcomes you in and says that, yes, she has rooms enough for you all. I think she assumes your man is going to take all the cases from all the visitors up into the various rooms. And so she gives him all the keys and says that he'll know who's sleeping where.
Excuse me, I can't take all of the luggage.
Well, don't worry, she'll keep an eye on it down here, and you can do it in up and down the stairs. She says she's just making an assumption about you, but she says it in a friendly way.
Yeah, I understood that, but no, excuse me, I'm her servant. I'm not the servant of the whole group. I'm sorry, but I cannot take a stranger's luggage. You have to understand.
You can't take a
Forgive me, I
stranger's
misunderstood.
key.
There are just so many gentlemen and ladies of quality here. I assumed that you were a servant that they shared. Forgive me.
I hand out the keys to everyone, but
sorry, I will of course take my own luggage, and Miss Sundquist, if you liked, I would take your luggage to your room.
Oh, that would be very nice. Thank you. And while we are a little bit out of earshot, I need to tell you, you might think I'm a little bit hysteric or whatever you call women that start saying things, but I swear the crow pitched over the milk churn.
The same crow again.
Well, I can't keep crows apart, to be honest, but I think it was the same bird. It felt like the same bird. It looked at me the same way, and it just flapped its wings, and the milk churn fell over as if this tiny bird could unleash a storm. I can't explain it, but I can tell you from personal experience that the strangest things may happen if you least expect them.
Turning...
was there again dust when the bird lifted off, or just milk?
I was, well, you heard the clanging. I didn't look for dust or anything, but...
Given that I didn't mention it,
there was dust.
Yes, you think there possibly was, given your successful role. You might have seen it, that little puff of dark dust as it picked off, as it took off again.
There was... like a cloud for a short moment of this dark powder or dust again. And forgive me for saying this, but I feel like there's like this crow. It deliberately did this, as if it wanted people to fight or to spark anger. I'm sorry. I should blabber about this. You surely have more important things to bother you with. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I'm not a man of writing, so in the moment I just can't think of any logical reason for this. So excuse me if I'm
skeptical. Yes, that's to be expected. And thank you very much for taking care of my luggage. You could say I'm a person with more than her fair share of fantastical thoughts and ideas. So, yes, maybe I should talk to the doctor.
Meanwhile, while Gustav and the writer are talking in whispers to each other near the staircase, everybody else, your attention is grabbed by a man who stands up suddenly. He's obviously quite drunk already, and he casts his arm about to a number of the other drinkers. He points at them one by one and says, "I know you're talking about me, and I know what you're saying. You're saying it was me that took the doctor's children. I'm the only one that's still looking for him. Everyone else, every one of you has given up hope. But I will find the Grey Man, and I will force him to give up those children. And if he does not, I will shoot him." And with that, he storms out of the inn.
That was strange.
I just can't. Sorry, no. You go.
I just wanted to say, if you want, you can stay here while I fix the rooms, but I'm not sure anymore if this would be appropriate.
Yes. I haven't told you that we heard the story of the doctor here who has lost his children to the woods, it appears.
Yeah, 3 children.
In the woods, 3 or something. That's horrible. So it seems the dwarf just accepted this and
it appears they searched for them, and they say that they, like that man just took that name into his mouth, like the Grey Man or so.
I've heard that.
They say that he took them.
The Grey Man. Has any one of you heard about a Grey Man?
No.
Not apart from this, no. But maybe the man who just stormed off might know something more.
I'm not sure if he's in the right mood right now to talk to him.
I don't think he is. But maybe after he had some quiet and prayer, then he would be willing to talk.
I try to remember the guide so we can talk to him maybe tomorrow or so. But yeah.
Joachim, could you perhaps go over to that group of men and ask them who he was?
Sure, I can do that. I put down the luggage in the corner and head to the nearest group, to a table with some guy sitting. Excuse me, I'm sorry for bothering you. I've just witnessed what has happened here. Can you tell me anything about that guy that just stormed out?
Don't mind old Carl, they say. He's always been a bit of a loner and a bit strange. He brings he shoots and snares food though, and he knows the woods probably better than anyone. So people people do wonder whether he's had something to do with. Do you know about the doctor's missing children?
I've heard about that. He lost 3 children to the woods, I guess.
So there's a story that there is a spirit in the woods that controls 3 animals. 4 animals, it says. A fawn, that is to say a young deer, a fox, a black cat, and a raven. And it's said that these creatures come into the village and entice the doctor's children away one by one and encourage them to follow them into the woods and are never seen again. And it's true. We never have seen them again.
But do you really believe that there is a spirit in these 4 animals?
Well, people have caught glimpses of them in the village.
Can you tell me more about that? What kind of glimpses did they catch?
Well, the one I've seen most often is a little black kitten. And it's quite a friendly sort. I could imagine a child might play with that kitten. She's not too scared by the presence of other people, but she seems to sort herself to herself. So that's what I've seen. But there's talks of people seeing a crow or a raven around here, and a fox and a deer that are, these creatures, they keep themselves to themselves. The village is a land of men, and the woods is a land of creatures like that.
Obviously,
yeah. These ones seem to have no fear of coming into the village and getting quite close. And there's a fawn that I've seen up by the Oberg house as well. All on his own, but he seems quite curious and lacking all fear of men.
Interesting. That's not typical behavior for young deer. Interesting. Do you know why would these creatures or the spirits try to lure the kids away?
Well, you know the old stories. This happens all the time, fairies and the like. Now, Father Peter made a sermon on Sunday telling us very strongly that fairies don't exist. But he can't answer where those children are. Neither can he answer who made Margareta Oberg pregnant. And somebody did.
So
somebody or something is what I'm saying. And everybody here says it.
Interesting. Okay, thank you very much. Interesting information. So shouldn't be too boring out here. And I head back to Dr. Dorothea and tell her what I've heard about the animals, especially the raven, the fawn.
The priest is also staying with us, right? Standing there at the staircase, I think. Yeah. So, Joachim, tell me, they really think that a fairy got that young lady pregnant?
A fairy got that. Yeah, not only that, but that the fairy is responsible for the missing 3 children. That the animals she controls, I guess, lured her in the woods, and that's the reason why they're missing. So
this is sort of the reason I am here, because my esteemed colleague and brother in faith, Father Peter, he is the priest who resides in December, and he asked me for my counsel. I'm not entirely sure I can help with such a thing, but I thought I'd have a look because he hates me. This man despises me, really. And I just had to see what made him so desperate to ask me specifically to come here.
There has to be a perfectly logical reason for all this. I mean, haven't we risen above this superstition? We live in the 19th century, for God's sake.
Oh, well, there are more things between heaven and earth that we just might not comprehend.
I have to agree with that, but why should, if this creature exists, try to lure away innocent children? I don't get that.
Children are the purest of souls, though. They are untarnished and loved by God. So everything that's evil would long to own such a soul. Just wild guessing here. No facts.
I'm very sorry, I just caught the end of the conversation. What creatures are we talking about here? Have you talked about the folklore with people?
Yes, I don't know if you were around when this one guy left, the drunken guy left the inn.
Oh, I was just going upstairs with Gustav, Mr. Thorn, and...
Gustav.
Yeah, and... No, I didn't.
Mr. Thorn. Yeah, sorry.
Mr. Thorn, yeah. I just heard someone yelling, but not exactly what.
This one drunken guy left the inn at the tavern, telling that all the others stopped looking for the children. He's the only one that's still looking for them, and they think he is responsible for the missing children. So I was just curious and asked them what was this all about, and they told me basically that there's a creature in the woods, maybe a fairy or something like that, that controls maybe 4 animals. A young deer, a fawn, basically a fox, a black kitten, and a raven. And they say these animals lured the children in the woods, basically. So that's the reason why they're missing. And not only that, but this creature should be responsible for the pregnancy of one of the women here in the village. So,
well, I think we all can agree that no village nor army, for that case, has any shortage of drunken fools. So,
and unwanted pregnancies. I'm sorry, but did you say raven?
Yes, he told me that the 4 animals that.
And one of them is a raven. Maybe
a raven, yes.
A really large, scary crow.
Maybe a crow, and they're not sure about that. It's a black bird, basically.
Yeah, I told Mr. Thorn already. You remember when we drove up to the dairy?
The curious bird, yeah.
Yeah, the curious bird. I saw it again at the dairy, and
the same one?
I think so. No, I know it sounds ridiculous, but it also left a puff of this black powder or dust behind, and I swear, I saw it flap its wings, and the milk churn fell over as if there was a great gust of wind that tiny bird like that could never create. And to be very honest, maybe Dr. Borelius, I've had some very strange things happen to me over the last few months, so it might be the nerves, but do nerves make you see things like that?
It's possible. But to be honest, I exchange a glance with the priest. I also think that there are sometimes things between heaven and earth that we do not understand, or perhaps do not understand until we have seen them. So perhaps it's not your nerves, young lady.
That would be... I don't know which would be better. If I just see things, or if the things are really there.
Miss Sundquist, just please promise me don't follow the crow into the woods.
Well, I'm no child. I promise you not to follow the crow into the woods without telling anyone. If that's...
Yeah, that's a good idea. I have to agree. I mean, there are things we don't know and can't explain, so maybe there is in the core there's a bit truth to it, so we don't know.
Well, I don't think I can sleep yet or do anything else, and I don't want to rest or eat. So if anyone would care to accompany me on a walk through the village, maybe?
Absolutely. I would like to go past the church anyway to greet my dear pen friend, Father Peter.
So you're visiting friends here. That's nice. That's very nice. Well, yes, I'd very like to.
A walk would be very nice after or sitting in the train.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the village. The station you can see down at the bottom of the map. The dairy is sort of halfway up the curve. There's a stream that goes winds down the valley, and most of the houses are at the top of the village, and most of these are labourers' cottages. As you walk through, the inn is here just on the other side of the bridge. And behind the inn, you can see over fields and graveyards to the church. There's a little track, which is not marked here, that takes you up to the church. And there's also the big house here, the Oberg house. So that's the layout of the village. And yeah, you can walk up past the church if you so desire. There's a few cottages around there, down the street. Where do you want to go?
Well, I guess we are going towards the church because the Lady Vicar would like to visit.
Yeah, maybe do just follow the path along and then go past the Oberg house to have a look at that magnificent manor, probably, and then turn right and stroll towards the church.
That
Sounds like a plan.
lovely.
Cool. So there's a few houses up between the inn and the Oberg house on the other side of the road. Generally, you can see most of them are labourers' cottages, but there's one right on the end that's a bit fancier, that's been extended, that has a more ornamental garden. But the best gardens are around the Oberg house. In fact, you can see that there are people still actually working here, finishing off a bit of pruning of some fruit trees. The house looks quite imposing. And yes, you can work out that the church is built on Oberg house land, so you can wind around the garden. I think people would be a little bit offended if you went through the garden uninvited, but you can go around the garden to get to the church building, which is in a Swedish vernacular style, but built in relatively recently, in the last 50 years or so. It's a round tower church with a sort of vestry to one side and a little porch.
Beautiful.
It looks lovely, and the flowers are in bloom. This isn't the sort of landscape that you feel should be being haunted, shall we say, by these strange disappearances and talk of creatures and fey spirits.
Is there somebody to be seen at the Oberg house when we go past?
You can see some of the garden. There are some gardeners there. You can't particularly see any members of the family.
Okay.
What a great manor.
Actually, as you're walking past, maybe you can. Actually, I'm thinking. As you're walking around the garden, you see coming out of the Oberg house a man who is portly, a country man, but a country gentleman. So reasonably smart tweeds, and obviously a wealthy man, slightly red-faced, and he seems to be out for an evening constitutional walk, just like you are. And you imagine that he might, I don't know, come across the garden. You might get a chance to meet him, but he heads off instead across the road to the doctor's house.
I wonder if this was Mr. Oberg? Or...
Does anyone know the Obergs?
I think we can't know, but it doesn't seem fit to run after him, right? So I think we should first meet Father Peter. It's Father Peter?
Yes, it is.
Perhaps.
I only knew Margarita's fiancé.
Oh, you did?
He was a comrade in the army.
Oh dear, my condolences.
That is very sad. And she scribbles away furiously in her tiny book.
All right, shall we go see if we can greet Father Peter?
Oh yes, Father Peter.
Yes, is the church open to the public, hopefully?
Well, the House of God should be.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree, but yeah, he's always been a peculiar one. You never know.
So we probably are going to try the entrance of the church, whether it's open.
Well, the church, of course, is always open, but it's quiet and there isn't anybody in here. It's very Protestant in its interior design. It's not very decorated. It's quite plain and simple in its interior design. But you're not greeted by Father Peter or anybody.
Have a look around. Maybe he's to see where he could be. After a while, I turn to the vicar. I think we might have missed him. Maybe he's at home. Do you know where he resides?
Where would he reside if he's not in the church?
Well, I think Eric told you that although he
Right. He's at the inn. How could I not?
Is he not
think
at the
of that?
Oberg house because he's a good friend and they have good food?
Right.
It's not like I write down everything that I hear.
It is very good you do because, yeah, it might be the age or me being preoccupied with other things, but I'm terrible at remembering things. I do apologise. But while we're here, we might as well have a nice look around, right?
The church?
Oh, yes.
Well, if you say so.
Oh, just a few minutes. It's a house of God. God's arms are open to everyone, and we are his guests, aren't we? So,
looking around the church building, outside or inside?
inside first, but yeah, if there's anything that sparks interest, might as well walk around the building to admire.
Well, one of the interesting things about the church is that although it's very plain and simple on the inside, it is decorated with flowers. All the flowers, however, are the same. They're bunches of foxgloves. You feel it doesn't quite feel right for the church to have foxgloves on the altar, foxgloves on the pillars, foxgloves at the end of each row of pews. So that's unusual, but that's just about the only unusual thing that you spot.
Yeah. Is there any superstition that I'm aware of about this kind of flower, that it wards off evil or anything like that?
Who's here with you?
I think right now everyone is inside.
Is everybody here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Julia, can I get you to make a learning roll? Because I think you'll probably know more about foxgloves than anybody else.
Sure. I do have 2 points in learning, and it's logic. So I have in total a 5 dice.
She's a learned woman.
But alas, only one success, but perhaps it's enough.
One success is all you need in this game.
And since Julia
so,
is a doctor, she probably knows what foxglove is for.
So you are aware that foxgloves, well, you're not aware of any sort of folkloric intent of foxgloves, but you are aware that they are used in medicine. A very dilute tincture of digitalis, as it's called, can be used to calm palpitations and things like that. Too much, though, and it can cause heart disease. It can actually kill people. It's a poison, effectively, like so many medicines are in great quantity. So that's one thing you can share about foxgloves. But as far as you're aware, you're not aware of any sort of folkloric intent of foxgloves.
Mm-hmm. So this beautiful flower also contains a poison. It is possible to use it as a medicine, but also, as always, the dose makes the poison, right? You can also use it to kill someone if you want.
Oh, well, there's an awful lot of it here.
Quite a lot.
That's a bit concerning.
Well, whoever decorated the church surely didn't mean for anyone to eat them.
They probably didn't know.
They probably just like the nice flowers, I guess.
Yes, they're beautiful. And you know what? Bees love them. They are kind of like made for bees. They can crawl inside and get to the nectar and other insects. And I like flowers.
You hear a mew.
Doesn't everybody know it's poisonous? I remember, as it was yesterday, my nursemaid telling me, Gustav, don't eat that. It's poisonous.
Psst, 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 psst.
Well, you might also know, Gustav, yes, but
sorry?
The doctor could probably whip up either a poison or a cure. She knows how much is poisonous, I would guess.
Did you hear that?
Hear what?
Psst, 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 psst. Kitty?
I think I heard a cat.
I heard a cat.
Yeah.
Just heard the noise you were making.
And in the entrance to the church, a little kitten is looking curiously at you.
Oh, well, hello.
Forgive me, who said that? So I'm looking at something else on the screen at the moment.
Oh, the priest.
Okay.
The priest.
So when you greet her, she immediately comes trotting forward on little black feet. She's a black kitten. And you know how cats kind of rub along their body along your shin? She does that to you. But what's strange about this is her fur is soaking wet.
Oh, what happened to you, little one? Did you fall into the water somewhere?
She mews.
Oh, all right. Do I have a handkerchief or something where I can pat the cat dry a little?
I'm sure you do.
Very well, I do that.
As you pat it dry, well, rather, as you pat the water off the kitten, your handkerchief gets soaked, but the kitten doesn't look any drier or feel any drier if you stroke away your hand.
Same up.
This is odd. I would like you to make a fear test.
Oh, how do I do that?
Now I'm going to tell you how to do that. So this is a mechanic just for this, and it's not one that appears in other Free League games. You can choose to use empathy or logic to calm your nerves. So you're only using that stat. There's no skill with it. You roll that number of dice, and you want to get one success. This is only a fear factor of 1.
All right. I will take empathy because that's my highest stat. So I will try to find my inner middle or find my my faith would be good, I think. Let's see. You said I should ideally roll one success, right?
Success, yes.
It is not necessarily required, right?
Well, it's not required, but sadly you can't push one of these tests.
All right, I did fail miserably.
Fail miserably. Right, then I'm going to... could you roll another d6 for me and tell me the total that you get? The number.
Just one.
Sorry?
Just one d6. Yes.
Give me a number from 1 and 6.
Number 2.
Number 2. Okay, so for the next 2 turns, if this were a combat situation, the next 2 rounds, but this isn't particularly, you have to experience one of 4 things. You can choose to flee, to freeze, to faint, or to attack. Now, obviously, some of these will be appropriate to the situation you're in, but that's all you can do for the next 2 rounds. And you must also strike off one of your mental conditions. So you will become angry or exhausted or scared.
All right, and I can choose which direction I go.
Choose all of this. Yep.
All right. Okay. Yeah, after I patted the kitten, something quite unexpected happens. I kick the kitten. It probably would fly a couple of meters, and I yell at it.
So you're choosing anger, huh? And
I do.
Yeah?
I do, yeah. I thought that would go nice, and everyone would know something seriously wrong.
No! Why? Why did you kick the poor kitten? What's wrong with you?
So the kitten, I must admit, I have to tell this story. When I was a kid, my brother's kitten was playing with my toes, and I had a dream about mice nibbling at my toes, and I kept trying to shake them off, and in the end, I kicked out with my foot, and I heard this plaintive little squeal as the poor kitten hit the radiator on the other side of my room. But she was fine. She was fine. And that's what this one does. There's a little thump and a squeal, but she's not going to nibble your toes again. And this one isn't going to come to your calf again. She scampers off, but apparently unhurt.
Good God, what was that? What did the kitten
Why?
do?
The great dragon was thrown down from the heaven, and it is called Devil and Satan, and this cat is no good.
Did it bite you?
Well, it's a
No.
black cat, but and you shouldn't take them to church. And I'm more of the dog person myself, but don't you think you overreacted?
A little bit?
Overreacted? No, in no way I overreacted. Listen, this cat was wet. I tried to pat it down. This is my handkerchief. Is my handkerchief still wet? Is it still wet? I squeeze it a little to see if it is still wet.
Matthew?
It
Can
is
you hear
still
us?
wet, yes.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah.
sorry.
See?
I thought you were asking the others to prove to tell you that. Yes. And then you
Yes,
squeeze
yeah,
it,
could you just
water
deal
comes
with
out. I mean, the more you squeeze it, it doesn't stay wet after you've squeezed
Yeah.
it. But everybody can see.
Unlike the cat, I can squeeze the water out of it. But the
You
cat
shouldn't squeeze a cat, but maybe you should have used a bigger handkerchief or kind of towel to dry it. Maybe it was just too wet for your small handkerchief.
What? No. I clearly noticed there was something wrong with this cat.
Is the cat still to be seen, or is it gone?
It was a long day. Maybe
It's gone out of the church.
I will go after it.
Yeah, okay. Let me just do something for Gustav here. Gustav, I'm putting the text of your letter into the chat.
Mm-hmm.
No, it doesn't like it. It's too many words. I'll come back to that in a moment. Yes, you can see the cat now some distance down the path, and you could follow, but you are then struck by a fox greeting the cat halfway down the path.
Oh,
And then the two of them heading up the road towards the woods.
While this is happening, I would go over to the writer, to Selma, Excuse me. You know, when we were inside the inn, the guy I spoke to said not only
A fox,
something.
a black cat, and a raven or a crow.
Exactly.
Yes, or a kitten. I think it was. Well, we've seen 2 of them now. I'm not seeing things. Everyone is seeing things.
Nobody is saying anything. But
Well, you saw the cat, and she even kicked the cat. The cat was real.
yeah, the crow was real also. I wouldn't say anything other, but
I think that something really, really strange is going on in this place, and I think we should maybe find Father Peter, and which means we should visit the Oberg house, right?
That's where you expect to find him from what everybody said.
I come back into the church. Is it known that foxes and cats are good friends?
It seems they are here. So 3
Yeah.
out of 4.
That's what I think, because I just saw that fox cub with that little kitten going into the woods, side by side, which is apparently a little bit odd, don't you think?
More than odd. Either someone here is playing a trick on us. Rather odd trick. Or something's going on. I mean, they talk about these 4 creatures, and we've seen 3 of them so far, and they have behaved very oddly.
I would say something is going on, and as I stated before, there are things we cannot explain, so maybe there's some truth to the story the villager told me.
So,
The
Mrs.
question.
Nyström?
Sorry.
Oh, I'm very sorry. But Mrs. Nyström, I think you should be kind of our leader, or be the one to ask for Father Peter at the Oberg house? Since you are, what did you say?
Walking across the garden to the Oberg house now, are you, as you're having this discussion?
I would think so.
If Selma can get the other ones going, yes, then she's kind of trying to steer them that way, clutching her little book.
Okay. As you get to the Oberg house, you realise you've come without an invitation or a card. How are you going to ask to be let in? Are you going to knock at the front door? Sneak in?
I just realized, was Thomas from this village too?
Yes, he was, yes.
Oh, in that case, I should make... I should go to his parents first, I think.
Right, they have a house down the village a little way over the other side of the bridge from the inn. Do you want to do that while the others talk to the vicar?
Well, maybe I should.
Okay. Well, tell you what, let's do that first. So you wander down to the Lynn's house. You know where it is, and just trying to find their house. Give me a moment. It's a small terrace, or not terrace, a small farmer's cottage, and when you knock on their door, you see that Mr. Lind is a frail and pale man, old beyond his years, and he comes to open the doors with pale blue eyes, roomy eyes with red. Well, it looks like he's been crying, basically. And he opens the door and he looks at you in your uniform and starts a little and greets you timidly but warmly and asks who you are.
Good evening, Mr. Lind. I'm sorry to disturb you, but you see, your son Thomas was a comrade of mine in the army, and
he calls for his wife, and she comes and puts a hand on his shoulder and says, "Have you news?"
Sorry, I just wanted to visit you while I was in the region, and no news since I don't have any news since Lieutenant Henriksen wrote about his gone missing.
But Colonel Henriksen wrote to us and told us that he was dead.
That's what we fear, but yeah.
They said he died bravely, and was fated by his comrades. He was he'd saved many lives in a heroic death.
Well, he did. He did. I'm sorry if I.
So you're here to bring condolences.
Yeah.
Now,
he was a truly brave man and a good friend.
They invite you in. They sit you in their little front room by the fire. They're very pleased to see that you're in there. You can see over time that the father has never recovered from news of his death. You see a photograph on the wall of the two of them together when they were married, and he was a big, strong farmer, but now he looks weak and small. His wife has fared better, but she is just so angry. So she says, well, I wish you would tell Margareta that he is, that she should give up hope. She has this fantasy that he is the father of her child, and she keeps going on as though he's alive, and it just upsets us so. We can't move on from this tragedy. It's good to hear that you confirm of his bravery. Were you there with him when he died?
No, sorry. I was in another unit at the time.
But, it's good to know that he had friends like you who care about him, and thank you for coming to the village. But actually talking about his death is still so painful for us, particularly with Margareta. And you can see she's really quite angry with Margareta's behavior.
If you'd like, I would have a talk with Margareta. Perhaps if some friend of Thomas talked to her, it would have a better effect.
They'd appreciate that. They really would. But eventually, the tea they offered you is drunk, and you don't want to outstay your welcome. Unless you've got any questions you want to ask them.
No, not right now.
Okay. So while you're down there, the four of you are going to the Oberg house.
Am I still angry?
You're still angry. I think by the time you walked across the field, it was only a couple of rounds of combat time, so I think you're probably now a little calmer. Although the others might still be angry with you about kicking a kitten, but I don't know.
Everyone should be angry with me for that.
I'm more disappointed.
Yeah.
So who's knocking at the door? Who's going to kind of take the lead in this situation?
Well, if no one else is doing anything, then Selma is going to shuffle the Lady Vicar to the front of the group. Ask for Father Peter.
Yes.
Sorry, with all respect.
But that's perfectly fine. Do we have a doorbell or do I need to knock?
You need to knock. Oh, no, yeah, this is a fancy house.
Yeah.
I imagine it probably has a doorbell.
Oh,
One of those ones that
Oh.
you pull at a handle and then some distant place inside the house you can hear the faint ringing of a bell. And eventually the door opens and a rather stern manservant looks out and at you, looking you up and down. Yeah.
Hey, sir. Good day. May the Lord bless you. I am here because I was hoping that my good friend Father Peter was at this very fine house this evening. We went up to the church to see him, but he wasn't there apparently. My apologies. My name is Alma Nystrom, and I am one of his sisters in faith.
Yes. He is here. He likes to take port with the master. Do you have an appointment with him?
No, I do not.
So you've presumed to visit Mr. Oberg's house as though it were a meeting room. He's quite difficult to... he's quite condescending, to be honest, for a man of service. Quite protective of his master. Yes, I think I might need you to make a manipulation test.
I would step in and tell her that didn't you receive a letter? Didn't he send for you?
Yes, he did, but Father Peter did. If the Lord of the house doesn't want to see me, there is nothing I can do, can I?
Mr. Oberg is not in. I somewhat resent Father Peter treating this as his parish office. But he takes your letter and glances at it, and he sees that it is indeed signed by Father Peter and gives it back to you and says, I suppose you should come into the drawing room and I shall find Father Peter, who will be dining. And they lead you into the drawing room. Again, can I get everybody to make an observation roll a vigilance roll when they're in the drawing room?
Ha ha.
Nope.
I'm hyper-vigilant.
Okay, now you see a strange thing. Just the writer. Sir, I've forgotten your name. Your character's name.
Do you mean Joachim or Gustav?
Joachim. So, are you the only one to have succeeded?
No, I haven't. I didn't.
You've not succeeded.
Nope.
Julia, did you succeed? No. Evie? No. Okay. So you're going to have to explain what you've seen to everybody else, and again look a little bit, as you said earlier on, hysterical.
Weird every minute.
Because you've just seen a little girl, a pallid, pale little girl, bringing in a jar of foxgloves in a vase, putting it in the room, and leaving. Nobody else noticed her at all, but you saw it clear as day. Foxgloves. And sort of leaving out of the room and heading out of the front door. Nobody. The butler hasn't seen her. None of your three companions have seen her. She's just decorated the room. The foxgloves are still there now, even though she's leaving the house.
Those are nice flowers. Why is everyone using... Gustav! Oh, no, Gustav's not here. She vibrates with nervous energy, kind of just jiggling on the spot. Mrs. Borealis. Mrs. Borealis.
Yes, my dear. What's up?
Did you see the little girl bringing in the poison flowers?
A little girl? No.
Do you see the poison flowers?
I see the flowers right there.
There's a small girl, very pale. She came in, she put the flowers there, she went out. No one looked at her.
I very gently grab her hand and try to figure out how the pulse is on her wrist. Yeah, perhaps she is a little bit nervous after all.
I think, given that nobody else can see this, you're going to need to make a fear test yourself.
I'm going to go with empathy, and I fail.
Okay, so you two must take a condition and decide what you're going to do. Are you going to flee, run away, freeze, faint, or attack somebody? Don't hit any more.
Okay. Good. I see people that aren't there. And then she slowly drops backwards into one of the chairs, fainting like a Victorian lady.
Oh dear, Doctor!
I try to grab her that she's not falling on the ground.
As you're feeling her pulse, it stops for a little while. You can't feel her pulse for a moment. It's typical fainting symptoms. She's not faking this. She collapses effectively in your arms.
I try to
backwards onto a chair. She just
onto the chair. I try to get her down very gently and grab my back and I yell, "Joachim, can you help me?"
Yes, of course. I bring it back over. What should I do?
I need my salt. The salt to bring her back. Yeah.
I open the bag, rummage in it, and hand you the sword.
I have that little flacon or that little glass feel.
The smelling salts.
Yes, and I put it under her nose and Come on,
can
my
I get
dear,
you,
wake up.
Mary, to roll a d6?
Yes.
To the armbar servant.
Sorry?
3.
What did you get? 3. Okay, so it takes a little bit of time, but eventually she comes round. Mirko.
Yep. To the other servant, I would tell, bring us a glass of water, please. We have to help her.
A little bit. He's not here as a servant of the of the vicar's guests, but yes, he can see that
I would do it
young
myself.
lady's in distress, and he goes to fetch a glass of water, leaving you all alone in the room.
So as long as she's not with us again, I tell the others what she told me. Yeah. So she says she has seen a pallid little girl bringing in the flowers. Did you see something? Anyone?
No.
I didn't.
No.
As far as you three are concerned, those flowers are always there. Mm-hmm. You may not have noticed them as you first came into the room, but they must have been there because only the 4 of you and the servant have been in the room, and he definitely wasn't carrying any.
Do you think she... Well, it's a bit concerning that she's seeing things, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yes.
But isn't it concerning too that you just out of spite kicked a kitten? So don't come to conclusions too early. Maybe there is something happening here.
Under normal circumstances, I would like to point out that by the Lord, I swear, I would not kick a kitten. They are creatures of God as we are all, and they are loved. But this, my dear, was no normal kitten. It was an abomination. It was a creature of hell.
I do believe you. I just wanted to say we shouldn't come to conclusions too early. Maybe there is something happening here. That's all I'm saying.
Definitely something happening here.
Now we're coming up to 11 o'clock. I think we've probably got another 30 minutes of this to go, so I'm not staying to time. very well. How is that?
Well, let's go around. If everyone is fine with playing a little longer. Evie's fine, Julia's fine, Tim is fine, Wilco seems unaffected. No, he's fine. So if you're willing to game master for us, like 30 more minutes.
I'm fine. I say 11 o'clock my time, of course. It's midnight your time, so I'm worried about you more than me.
But we're going into winter time this weekend, so we've got an extra hour tonight.
We all? So. Yes, yeah, we've got something cool. Okay, so eventually the vicar, Father Peter, bustles in and says, with the butler bringing a glass of water for Mary, by this time you are recovering. He says, I hear there's a young lady in distress. Another young lady, I should say.
Oh, I'm so very embarrassed. I'm sorry. This hasn't happened in quite some time.
I think everything is under control, Father.
He turns to Evie, your character, whose name I've just forgotten, and he says, typical of the companions you had at college as well, if I might say so.
It has been a long time, hasn't it?
Always with ridiculous ideas. Seems to be infecting the world at the moment. And then he turns back to you, Doctor, and says, Doctor, I'm sorry. We have not made an acquaintance. I'm Father Peter. You are obviously a woman of learning.
Yes, indeed. I hold him my hand so he can we can shake hands basically. And Dr. Dorothea Borelius. I'm a doctor, yes, and I already checked on her, and she's perfectly fine. A little fainting, nothing more.
Yeah, it's very well. Well, I hope, young lady, you recover shortly. And turns to the butler and says, "Maybe you could get drinks for everyone. I'd like a port, please." And then he takes a seat.
Some things just never change, right? You always like the port, Peter.
I whisper to the other servant, for me, please, just water.
Well, you know what they say, that it is easier for a rich man to get to pass through the eye of a needle. No, hold on. It's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to get into heaven. But while I'm here, I might as well take of some of the pleasures. Of all the light. So Seth settles down and says, so the reason I have called you here is another neurotic young woman who even now is upstairs here, who swears that she has been impregnated, if I could be so bold in front of the doctor and speak in medical terms, impregnated by her dead husband. By this time, Tim, I imagine you will have finished your conversation and be walking up to the house?
Yeah. I walk up to the house and knock, and if the servant opens, I ask to speak to the master of the house.
And who are you, he says, as he looks down at you?
Oh, you see, I'm Lieutenant Thorn. I was a comrade of Miss Margareta's fiancé.
Well, this is a day for strange visitors, but you should maybe come into the drawing room with these other people suddenly interested in Margareta, and I shall send a runner and see if we can find Master Oberg, but he is not currently at home. Father Peter shall have to entertain you, and he guides you into the drawing room.
Thank you.
Oh, Gustav.
So yeah, Father Peter is holding forth. Mary, did you want to say something?
No, Selma just greeted Gustav.
Selma, is everything okay? You don't look.
Oh, just a
Quite
little dizzy
yourself.
spell. I don't think you need to worry. And everyone's talking now about hysterical women being impregnated, but I'm pretty sure that I'm not. If anyone wanted to ask. No one did. I'm sorry.
So, let me explain the situation. Margareta has is with child. She insists that it is a young man called Thomas Lind, who was her fiancé, who has fathered the child, and yet, of course, Thomas is dead. Mr. Oberg is trying to arrange a marriage with Dr. Raphael, and who is recently widowed. And it would be better for everyone if she were to marry a man of quality. And although he has misplaced his children, that maybe with a womanly touch in the house, they may, if they have gone wild and living in the woods, they will return if they can see that they have a mother waiting for them at home and a new brother or sister on the way as well. Gustav is reluctant, and of course Margareta is very reluctant because she insists on waiting for marriage to this man Thomas Lind, this ghost Thomas Lind.
Oh, why would she have to marry at all? That is such an old-fashioned view of things, really.
I might have expected you to have such an attitude, but Doctor, are you by any chance an alienist? Have you made a study of the mind and of the crises of the mind? Would you perhaps talk to Margareta?
Well, this is not my specialty, I have to admit. But of course, I would like to talk to her. Yes, and I would be interested. How far in her pregnancy is she? Can you tell me?
Well, you would know better than I, but judging by the swell of her belly, I would say 3 months.
We heard other stories, Father Peter, about stories that are told in the village about a fairy having
Yes,
impregnated her. Did you hear that as well?
This is one of the reasons why I called you here. He looks at you, Evie. Yes, the village is full of these stories, and this old folklore is nothing but paganism wrapped up in legend and myth. We're in a rational age now, and I really wish the villagers, I worked so hard to get them to see only the word of God and the toil of man as being that which is real in the world, not these silly stories that they're a pathway into devil worship at the worst, and pagan gods at the very least.
You said you expect the children to come back. How long are they missing, by the way?
They went one by one over the last few months. It started in the spring.
So they are missing for months now.
Yes, maybe weeks. For the third, there was. It's so confusing in my head. There were maybe 3 weeks between each child's disappearance.
And do you expect them to come back by their own, or are they supposed to survive for months out there in the woods?
Well, sir, I can see you are a rational man, and we, all of us, those of us who are rational men, fear that they are dead, obviously. But if there is any hope that they are alive, all I said was that a woman's touch in the doctor's house may be the thing that they need.
Don't you think it weird that a village so small has two so interesting and crazy things going on that are only connected by a planned marriage? A woman impregnated by her dead fiancé and 3 kids going missing in the woods, and both people should marry?
And
That
one
seems
being
quite
lost
odd to
before
me.
it was even really
Yeah.
in the world.
Sounds like a badly written novel. One of those really horrible ones.
Any particular ones that you don't like?
No, I didn't mean to. There are some who are better than others, of course.
Sometimes publishers ask for specific things, and then I'm just... maybe we should talk... No, the doctor, and maybe we can help her.
On this we have some agreement, he says, turning to the priest. At last we have some agreement. Yes, this is like a badly written romance. And that I fear that Margareta has been reading too many such books, and that is what has filled her mind with these fantasies. Doctor, I was asking if you're an alienist, and you said you would be willing to see her. We really should wait until Mr. Orberg comes home. But at that point, there is a sound of frustration outside the room as Mr. Orberg does return to the house, expressing his frustration that the doctor doesn't see his point of view. He says it would be a simple solution for everyone, and yet... I think he's planning on going back to Stockholm. And then he comes in and says, "Oh, I see I have guests. Father Peter, won't you introduce us to your friends?" And Father Peter goes through, not exactly friendly in the way he makes the introductions, but most friendly to the doctor, who says, "She's a very learned woman who has come all the way here to examine your daughter. And I know it's rather late. I did try and put her off until tomorrow, but she insists that only an urgent examination will be the thing. And so I was hoping you were home in time to give the doctor permission to go into her room." And Mr. Oberg says, of course. And so the butler leads you up, unlocks her bedroom door, and introduces... How many are going up? Are you all going up, or is that going to be two?
If I might join the doctor, I would like to talk to Miss Margareta.
I will wait outside of the room.
I might very well be able to explain to Margareta if this is actually flight of fancy set off by bad novels, how these novels come to be, and that anything that is in there is actually just the imagination of poor writers.
And Evie, what do you want to do?
Have a look around, really.
Okay, so do you and Mirko want to look around inside the house or outside?
Well, depends where we can go inside, really. I don't think we can rove around freely, can we? So
No,
probably,
it would be difficult to rove around freely.
Yeah, so probably maybe we can both go together for a walk and then look through some windows if we need to have a look inside, or eavesdrops.
An excellent plan.
I agree to that.
Let's start upstairs though. In the room, you are introduced to Margareta, who seems to be very happy to see you. She puts a book to one side. She looks well. She doesn't look distraught. She doesn't look neurotic. She's glowing with a remarkably trouble-free pregnancy, as far as you can tell in your initial observations, Doctor.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I would like to sit down beside her on her bed or on a chair beside her, and
this is quite a well-appointed room, so you could go. She has a little sort of two-seater sofa and nice carved wood. That would leave one other chair and the bed for the other two of you. But the two of you sit down together on there, and she says, "It's so pleasant to see guests. Father doesn't really like me going about the village because of what he calls scandal. So I feel myself rather trapped in this room sometimes."
I understand that. Your room was locked, right?
Yes, but I don't mind really. It's for my own safety.
Just a question.
For your own safety? So...
It's no great trouble to me, officer. It's let me say, it doesn't restrict me as much as my father thinks.
What does that mean?
I've got my own key, she giggles. And she pulls out from around her neck a little silver chain with a bedroom key. Don't tell anybody.
I can see that you're a clever young woman, and I smile at her. So I know that this question is really, indiscreet and very personal, but you are absolutely convinced that you are pregnant from your fiancé, who is, as everybody assumes, is dead. So can you tell us when exactly that did happen, and if there was something weird, perhaps?
But he's not dead.
When was the last time you saw Thomas?
Last night.
Last night.
Last night.
Where did you see him?
Did he climb up the wall?
No,
or...
he waits just down below, and I go down to see him.
Down below where? In the house?
In the garden.
In the garden?
Just coincidentally, Mirko and Evie, as you're circuiting around the house looking for things, you'll notice coming into the garden, now it's late evening, a young fawn. But the others don't know this.
Exactly what I was actually looking for.
Yes, he comes in. Our time together is short because he's been cursed, you see, by the Queen of the Spring.
Oh, what does that mean? Can you explain?
Well, the way he explained it to me is that he came over the mountains because, I'm sorry, and she turns to you, Gustav, and says he ran away from the war. It was just too much for him. And so he had to travel across the mountains. It wasn't an easy journey by any stretch. And he came on foot for the most part. He's a long time. And up in the woods, in the old mill pond, he fished for a trout. And the way he explains it to me, he says the Queen of the Spring was offended because he had not thanked her or given her a gift. He's quite talented at tickling trout. Do you know where you can catch them in your hand if you know where to live? And you make your fingers like reeds in the water, just gently stroking the trout, and then you pull it out of the water, and you can grab the trout. And so he fished for a trout. But this water spirit was furious. Not that he had taken the trout, but rather that he had done it without offering her a gift or even his thanks in return. And she cursed him. She makes him live as a fawn for all the daylight hours and only become human when the sun has set.
So Thomas is living in the woods and only visits you by night?
That's the only time that he can be Thomas. In the daytime, when the sun shines upon the face of the earth, he's a wild animal, a fawn, a deer. This fawn, by the way, in the garden that you're seeing is carrying in its mouth a bundle tied up with rope.
Psst. Alma, can you see the fawn over there?
Oh, dear Lord. Is that carrying rope?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes, it seems so, yes.
It seems to be a bundle of clothes.
Oh. Wow, why would
Grey
they do
woolen
that?
clothes or something. Meanwhile, in the house, Margareta enthusiastically tells you her story. Have you got any questions for her?
Is it just? Is he the only one who was cursed by the Queen of Spring? Do you know of any other people? Because there's rather an odd amount of strange animals in this small place, and there's people missing. I kind of have the feeling that I can make a connection here, and I can literally make a connection because I've written it all down, and I can make lines here.
Okay. Well, she says, I don't really think so. It's only Thomas. But I'd like you to make an observation roll.
Mm-hmm.
All of us?
Yes, all the three of you, Julia, Tim, and Mary.
Yeah, what could go wrong? Next fainting spell.
If I have no observation, then I just roll empathy, or?
Just roll empathy if you've got no observation, yeah.
Whoa. 2 successes.
2 successes.
1 success.
1.
Okay. So you can all see that she isn't lying when she says she doesn't know of anybody else. But Tim, you have seen this. As a dashing soldier, you have seen in many young women's eyes all over the world that when they're in love with a man in uniform, they think only about the man in uniform. So although she doesn't think anybody else has been transformed, you all have a sneaking suspicion that, yes, maybe other people have been, or should we say other children, have been similarly cursed by the Queen of the Spring.
Doesn't seem to leave the room too often at the moment, so that's
Yeah.
logical.
You're right, Gustav, you're right. Mr. Torn. But then, one last question. You're not unhappy, are you?
Well, I'm having his baby. But one thing makes me unhappy. Very soon it will be midsummer, and there will be no nighttime. And I worry that he will then be stuck as a fawn forever and never again transform back into the man I love.
Totally understandable. And it's understandable that you don't want to marry Dr. Raphael, right?
No, of course not. The man I love is here. All I need to do is break his curse.
And how do we do
Meanwhile,
that?
Out in the garden, we'll come back to you guys. Out in the garden, as you're looking at this this deer, you see the drunken man that you'd met in the inn. Mirko, you recognize him probably better than anybody else. You had more sort of concentration. He's got a rifle.
So
And,
is he trying to use the rifle to kill the fawn? Does it look like that?
it looks like he's stalking the fawn. Yes.
Okay.
He's in some distance away at the moment, but you've just caught a glimpse of him sort of creeping through some of the long grass at the edge of the garden. Meanwhile, the fawn is coming towards you. Well, right, he's not coming towards you. Having seen you by the house, he's kind of stopped. And he's looking from side to side. He hasn't seen Carl, but he's kind of looking from side to side and wondering whether he can go somewhere else. You're kind of coincidentally directly below Margaretta's window.
I watched this situation, and as soon as he's getting his rifle ready, I would try to jump it basically to make sure he doesn't can get a straight shot at the fawn or warn the fawn, something like that, so that it can't shoot
So
him.
you're trying to get closer to the hunter
Yes.
now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So
And while doing so, if he's raising his gun and aiming at the fawn, then I would try to jump him basically, or
run
scare the fawn.
But first of all, I would like you to make a. I think I'd like you to make a stealth roll if you can.
Ooh.
Can I help him by doing something very obvious, so that because I'm out in the open, and if someone would like watch the scene, they might be distracted by what I do.
Okay, what are you doing? And you'll give him an extra dice.
My handkerchief is still wet, so this is really disgusting. But I'll have a very good and loud sneeze.
Okay, right. Okay, throw an extra dice, Mirko.
So I got 5 dice and 3 successes.
Oh, right. Okay. So for that, I'm going to say you sneak up. The hunter is so focused on staying quiet and acting stealth. Oh, actually, no, I guess I should be mean and roll for his observation. Vigilance, I mean. Give me a moment.
He has to beat 3 successes.
He has to beat 3 successes, yeah.
Achoo!
That was loud, but also very ladylike.
I tried really hard.
There we go. So his vigilance is 1.
The chat says bless you.
No, yeah, you're absolutely unaware of you, Mirko. So you can surprise him whenever you want.
Yeah, I sneak on him and try to grab his rifle, to lower his rifle, and whisper in his ear, "Don't kill it. I don't know what it is, but you shouldn't kill it." And lower his
Okay, I'm
rifle.
going to ask you: Are you going to use manipulation on this to convince him,
I can try.
given you don't know?
Empathy. Ooh. I got a success, so with 4 dice.
Well, he's very skeptical. He says, "I know what it is. It's the foul creature that has kidnapped the doctor's children, transformed them. If I kill it, they will be freed. Their spirits will return to us."
I believe you that something happened with his children, that something maybe magical happened to them, but we have to find out for sure what happened. Don't kill it yet. we don't know what really happened. We have to find out first.
If you are wrong, and those children suffer another night, then I may kill you, he says. But at the moment, he puts up his rifle. Shall we cut back to the room?
Yes.
Yes, I was about to ask how we could help Thomas to get rid of that curse. If she knows something about it.
Let me see what she does know. I think she possibly doesn't.
Well, Dr. Borelius, she said that the Queen of Spring cursed him because he took something that was hers and he made no offer to her, right? So
her idea, she says, is that we could go to the Queen of Spring and ask her to curse me. And then even if I have to live as a fawn, as a deer, with him in the daytime, at least I will be with him. And maybe at night we will be human again, but I'd rather live as a fawn and in love with him and with him than alone as a human.
I look to our writer here and yeah, that's very romantic indeed. Just like a novel, don't you think?
it is.
But perhaps it's not necessary, perhaps. We don't know. Perhaps there is a solution.
We could. How would we even meet her? Where do you find the Queen of Spring? I guess in the
according
forest?
to Thomas, he was fishing in the mill pond. Nobody uses the mill anymore. It used to be when the farms hereabouts were all about wheat and barley and sheep. Then obviously we ground our own flour to make bread and to send some into the city, but it's fallen into disuse. But my plan this night was to escape with him and go to the mill pond and see if we could conjure her again.
I think we should do that. We can sneak her out. Or we can go to the mill pond, and either we can try and talk to this fairy creature if we could make amends for what her husband, fiancé, I'm sorry, did. Or, well, it is romantic, isn't it?
It is.
Well, maybe we could meet Thomas when we get to the mill.
Perhaps he knows more.
How do we get you out of here? How do you sneak out of the house?
Don't you think perhaps it would be best if you stayed in here and just told us what to do, and we go to the mill for you?
But if you get cursed, then there's just 3 more deer in the woods, and I'm still here on my own.
Then,
well, maybe you let us try, and if you don't come back, then that's another night.
No. We are going this quickly. We can't wait for midsummer. Don't you get it? This is these things. They have a cycle, and time might be of the essence. And she looks at Margareta and tries to gauge whether they are maybe slightly alike in stature.
You and she?
Yeah. Well, she's pregnant, I know, but 3 months pregnant.
Possibly.
Well, small caution.
I guess you're a similar age.
Well, if you take my dress and if you take my hat, and I know this sounds outlandish, but maybe they can smuggle you out and we can make sure that you can get to the mill pond and talk to the Queen and...
It might work.
Ooh. Why do we do it so difficult? I mean, if she sneaks out every night to meet Thomas, we can just leave the house and meet her outside.
Why have you never read any fairy tales or seen a Shakespeare play?
There's a
Me?
knock on the door, and Mr. Oberg says, "It is getting rather late. It will be dark soon. I wonder whether, Doctor, maybe your examination might continue tomorrow. I would be very welcome to receive you at, shall we say, after 10 o'clock?"
Yes, just give us one more second, please. So what do we do now?
I just leave the ladies for themselves because.
Yeah, I would have asked you to turn around in a second, anyways.
So you're coming out, and the doctor greets you and says,
the doctor is going to do some quick examinations. There's no room for gentlemen in there.
I understand entirely. Would you want to come down with me and drink some port?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
As I have a
very
particularly
considerate of you.
fine vintage, and really us men could set the worlds to right over a glass. I always find it very easy to talk, politics and business and things like that when I very much enjoy male company. And he takes you down to talk to the vicar, Father Peter, leaving you two ladies in the room for a little while longer.
Miss Sundquist, what is your plan? How do we get you out of this room then? I mean, if you change
Well, the most
disguise.
most important thing is that we get her out. And if they at some point realize that I'm not her, what are they going to... I mean, what are they going to do?
They're going to search for her.
Yes, but then it will be too late.
But don't you
Good
want to
work.
see what happens? I mean,
Normally, I have to wait until everybody's gone to sleep, and that leaves my time with Thomas so short. The servants go to sleep so late, and they wake up so early in the morning to set the fires.
See?
I won't stand in your way.
Just, if you are there, describe everything to me afterwards in detail. All right? So, and she starts kind of undressing and unlacing everything and handing it over to Margarita and helping her.
So, after some time, it's still a little bit of sunlight left. What are you guys doing outside? Mirko, I imagine you're just staying with Carl and
Yes.
making sure he doesn't lift his rifle.
Basically, still talking to him, keeping him busy talking to me, though he's not focused on the fawn too much. Just making
What
sure.
are you doing? What's the priest doing?
Is the fawn still sticking around and just
You
hiding?
can see that he's slightly agitated. The thing that he seems to be doing the most is putting the bundle of clothes that he's got in his mouth down by the trunk of a tree, and then lifting it up again,
Okay.
taking a few paces to another tree, and putting it down there, and then walking away. You can feel he's kind of quite agitated.
Okay. Is there any chance I can, slowly, very calmly walk up to it? Because I would be really interested to see what kind of clothes these are.
Okay, let's try. And let's try stealth. I imagine that's the calmest way of doing it. I know you're not sneaking, but you're doing it quietly and calmly, as it were.
Yeah. Oh, stealth. That'll be great. Let's see, precision and stealth. I actually do have a point in stealth. Where did I get that from?
Someone's been sneaking out of the seminary.
Well, yeah. Apparently, I have been. One success. That's
One success.
1
Okay,
6.
so you get close enough to realise that this bundle of clothes looks very old and very worn and very dirty, but it's the same colour as the uniform of the young officer, Gustav, who has been accompanying you in this investigation.
Okay, so it's male clothes and a military uniform.
Yeah.
That is very weird indeed.
And that colour is grey, by the way.
Okay.
And
Can
you
I?
remember Eric calling the spirit the Grey Man, and I think so did Carl the hunter in the inn.
Great man. All right. Is there any chance I can sort of lure the fawn to come towards myself with or without the clothes? I don't care. I just would like to take a closer look at the animal. Like, I don't know, pretend to have food or...
Inspiration. Yeah, make an inspiration roll.
Okay. That's 2 successes.
Okay, so tentatively, he steps forward on his tiny little hooves, still carrying the bag, the bundle.
Come.
And Julia, you and Margareta go downstairs and greet Tim, leaving Mary in Margareta's room, and do what?
Well, she's arranging everything in the bed, so she's basically mostly hidden and with the back to the door, and then she starts perusing the books.
Okay. You're not looking out the window. You're not looking out of the window.
No, I'm not looking out the window because I'm not expecting anything to happen right under our window.
So, Julia, Tim, what are you guys doing? You've now got you're kidnapping the daughter.
Yes, and I think that Mr. Oberg wanted to speak to me. I presume at least. So I would try to get Margarita out of the house already, perhaps. I call for Mr. Thorne. Can I have a word with Mr. Oberg, and perhaps we will meet outside?
Yeah, of course. So, Mr. Oberg, Father Peter, yeah, I wish you a good day, and
okay, so I'm just going to rush this forward because I see we're taking even more time than I said I'd take. It's great, by the way. I'm loving all of this, but yeah. So you make your excuses to Mr. Oberg. Julia, you stay inside a little bit. Tim, you hurry out just as the sun dips below the horizon, and then Evie, Mirko, Tim. Tim, you're following Margareta. She seems to know exactly where to go, and that is to where...
I'm not sure if I realized that's not...
It's not Mary.
It's not Selma, so...
Yeah, but she's running, almost running, I should say, round the side of the house to where she sees Evie, who's, as the priest is the deer is dropping the bundle of clothes into your hands, Evie, just as the sun dips below the horizon. And then the deer arches its back. It looks incredibly uncomfortable. And then down again. His form seems to be changing as... it seemed to be quite painful. The tiny, frail legs of the fawn sort of bulk out, and it really. The best I can describe is if you've seen the wolf transformation in American Werewolf of London, it's kind of the reverse of that with a deer. It doesn't look pleasant for Thomas, but. And I think I'd like you all, please, who are witnessing it. So that's Evie, Mirko, and you, Tim, to make a fear roll.
Empathy or logic, right?
Your choice, yeah. Whichever
okay,
one, however you try and justify it in your head of what you're seeing.
I try with empathy, I guess.
I give up on life and rolling dice.
I failed.
It's the second time in a row I threw 3 dice, and the dice show 665.
Right. Okay. So you've seen terrible things in war, and this is weird, but it is not as terrible as some of the injuries you've seen. The butler is just.
I'm frightened.
I'm
frightened to death. I'm watching this. I'm freezing because I'm so frightened. I'm aware that strange things can happen, but this is too much for me. I basically turned to stone, frightened. I'm shivering, stuttering from. What's happening there? And I'm just. Shut down, basically.
I'm a bit taken aback. I have to say. I just say, Thomas, is it you? What in God's name? Cover yourself.
What did you roll?
No success, and
no successes. You must take another mental condition. And how are you reacting to what you're seeing? Are you kicking the fawn?
Oh God! This will follow me.
Yes, this will.
Right now, he's not quite a fawn. He's looking pretty damn human. And if you kick him, well, depending on where you kick him,
No,
he's naked as well. But
that is the worst thing. I'm kneeling down to entice the fawn to come over, and now the fawn is turning into a man, and I'm like at crotch height, right?
Yeah,
so
he's on all fours at the moment, so you're not.
All right, yeah, but it will get bad. So I get frightened. I was about to reach for my crucifix. Instead, I drop the bundle of clothes. I stand up. I stagger backwards, probably fall over once or twice in the process, and once I can find my feet again, I just run.
Right. Okay. So you're all running back. Mirko and Evie, just roll a d6 to see just how long this is going to affect you.
5.
That's
all right.
2.
Okay. So you're really shaken, Evie.
Yes.
How long are you?
2.
Okay, so it won't take you long. You'll probably run back towards Tim, the soldier, but he's running past you because he's stunned to see his old comrade in arms standing now naked and quite matter-of-factly, obviously, particularly with this audience around him, hurrying to put on his really ragged pair of trousers that he's untied out of this bundle. And a coat to cover himself up with. But he says, Gustav, we meet in strange circumstances. It's dark now, remember, everybody.
But
Carl grabs your forearm, Mirko, and just calms you a little bit. This is a shared moment for the two of you. He is equally shocked by the transformation, but you know that there is something real and solid and human next to you. Tim.
What on God's good earth just happened, Thomas?
It's not something I can explain, and I can tell you it. It really hurts. Every evening and every morning. It hurts like nothing I've ever felt. I almost wish I was back in the war.
How long have you been living like this?
I've somewhat lost track of time, but months, at least 3, maybe 4.
And
there's a spirit. I call her the Queen of the Spring. She calls herself the Queen of the Spring, or a Guardian of the Spring.
This is real. This is really real.
It's as real as I stand before you now.
This defies all logic.
It's like something out of a fairy story, I know, but I've lived with this curse. She's so angry that the people of the village have forsaken her.
Forsaken her?
Yes.
Did they?
Years ago.
Did the village acknowledge her?
years ago, every spring, they would, as the flowers came out, they would create a great floral portrait of her, a beautiful woman, and they would carry it up with great procession towards the mill pond, and they would slip it into the mill pond and let it break apart. And the Queen says she loved it. It was a way of the village thanking her. But since they stopped using the mill, they stopped the procession. She's angry with them, but couldn't find a way other than flooding the valley, which she didn't want to do, to make her anger felt known until she found me. And then she's transformed children as well, taken them away.
So the doctor's children, that's more like you.
Yes, yeah. They don't transform back into humans at nighttime, though. They stay in their form. They've been in animal form. Well,
because there's no one they love?
I'm sorry, I missed what you said.
Is it like Margareta is your anchor to this world? To being human?
At nighttime, I'm human. When the sun shines, I'm an animal. And the children, I don't know what she's done to them. Maybe it's a bit different. They're kind of animals all the time, but they have their human spirits with them. It's difficult. Sometimes I see them in the daytime as humans, but nobody else does. Everybody sees them as animals.
Oh. I think I know someone who saw them. Or one of the girls at least.
Mary, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, can I hear the commotion? People screeching and falling over under the window?
Yeah, I think you probably did hear the Evie crying and running away, crying out and running away.
Yeah, and probably it's a mixture between cries of desperation and muttered Bible verses.
Then the window opens, and Agling's Selma in nightgown. She's at the mill pond. Thomas. You are Thomas, right?
Selma, what are you doing?
She's here, actually, Margareta. But she says, Thomas, we should go to the mill pond now. Let us make our peace on behalf of the village. With the, if this is the reason why that she's angry at the village, let's offer her our love.
Selma, you should come down immediately. This is madness.
Why? It's a really good story.
Humans aren't supposed to be in this kind of story.
Then what are they supposed... In what kinds of stories are they supposed to be? In the ones where they get ripped apart and with monsters? This one is one of the nicer ones.
But I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I didn't believe you.
Well, fine. Let's all go to the stupid mill pond and let's all try and sort this out. And she starts climbing out the window in a nightgown with a book on her arm.
I ran up to her and try to make her not make her fall.
I guess that's an agility roll.
That's an agility roll, I think. Yes.
Okay. And that's 2 successes. So yeah,
excellent.
She makes down and goes like nothing.
So she didn't need your help, Tim. You felt a bit useless there, like you wanted to be the gallant soldier helping her down, but she very athletic.
I can still reach her my hand when she climbs down the
Well,
window.
If you are against them finding happiness as half fawn, half human, then we should talk to the Queen of the Spring and tell her that try and make things right, and she should turn everyone back into human form.
Yes.
Right?
For the first time, I'm agreeing with you. This is a total irrational thing to do. under the given circumstances. I'm sorry.
I think by this time, the rest of you will have recovered from your fears.
Yeah, if not, I can help, maybe, or hopefully help the butler regain composure by, praying with him.
I'm standing up, getting myself back in order. That was...
Carl seems
what kind
more
of...
relaxed about what he's just witnessed because the way that the rest of you have dealt with this. It doesn't look like he's going to shoot anybody anymore.
I'm glad that you didn't shoot. You can put this rifle away.
So we're running out of time.
Yeah.
Shall we process
Yeah.
towards the mill pond?
Everyone to the mill pond.
Yes, hurry up.
So what kind of presents did the village offer in the mill pond?
Flowers, right?
Can't we
Yes,
get
and
flowers?
Carl now in this conversation says yes. They made great portraits, but it used to take weeks of preparation. We can't do that now.
Maybe you can grab
It's a
some
long
flowers from
time.
the church.
I remember it. I was only a child the last time we did it.
But we can maybe show her a token, like the promise for more to come at some point.
Possibly, yes.
There are
And we just
quite a lot
had
of flowers in the church.
Yes, exactly.
We raid the church.
Wait, the church!
We raid the church, we grab flowers, and then we run with lots of flowers. And
Okay, so with armfuls of the foxgloves, and you're suddenly thinking about that little girl you saw in the house, in the Oberg house, and wonder whether she'd been putting all these in the church as well.
Yeah.
But with armfuls of the foxgloves, you run up, if you remember the map, right at the top of the map is the old mill. And there you find, watching you on the ruins of this building that's now kind of half collapsed, you see a fox sitting among foxgloves and a bird perched on a wall, and a kitten comes out of the old mill race, as it were, and they watch you as you approach.
hello, my sweet ones. Would you know where the queen is? We have brought flowers and old Carl and some people who would like to talk to her.
And they look towards the still mill pond, and the moon is shining down now, so there's enough light to see closed water lilies, which start to move apart, and out of a mill pond comes just the head and eyes of what looked to you like an incredibly beautiful woman, but her eyes are cold, and she looks at you unspeaking.
Perhaps we should kneel down if she's a queen.
Yes, show respect. And
I go on my
what did
knee.
they say? They waded into the water and set the flowers free? Maybe that's the way to show respect.
I grab some flowers and do what she said, basically. I wade into the water.
We greet you, spirit of the waters. We offer you a gift and the promise of the gift of the years to continue again.
And while you are saying that, I release the flowers onto the water and hope she's not too mad about that.
And a little bit more of her head comes out of the water and her shoulders, and she looks about her at the scattered flowers. She doesn't look... Maybe there's a trace of what might be called a smile there, but she doesn't look well pleased at all.
It's a bit improvised, I know, but we want to make sure that the old relations the humans had with you will be restored. And I bow a bit for her.
Margareta suddenly takes Thomas's hand and says, we should marry here in the waters.
We have a priest.
We should ask the queen to bless our marriage.
And
Do you think that's a good idea?
It's a good.
I think, Your Majesty, and she does like a tiny curtsy, the people remember you now and they know that you are Roth, and if you give them back your children, I think they might give you back their faith, and these two young people, they might be the first ones to bring back the flowers and the gifts and the respect of everyone in this valley. So if you show a little bit of grace and a little bit of the life that you give to this land and a little bit of mildness, then they will return it tenfold. She kind of looks a little bit like asking tenfold is okay to the
Greta
couple.
looks at you and your dog collar, and although she's not particularly aware of women priests, she says, "Please, Vicar, marry us as we stand here in the mill pond."
Who am I to refuse this request? So,
Do you want to
Let's
make an
keep it short.
inspiration roll
Yes.
for this unusual service?
the worst marriage ceremony ever, probably.
Can we help?
That's 3 successes.
Please,
Not that bad.
Of course, what I should have been saying, actually, for the inspiration roll, but I'm not going to spoil it now, is that you, for each mental condition, you should have taken a dice away from your pool, but I forgot to mention that.
That's
Still a
fine.
success.
Just for any listeners who are screaming at Twitch that I've forgotten to tell you that, then that's what you should have been doing. But you got 3 successes. It's the end of the evening. We want a happy ending, don't we?
We do.
So you make a speech. You say the words of the marriage. You look for witnesses, and particularly, of course, you include the Queen of the Spring among the witnesses at this moment of love. And she seems to be satisfied with that, and you see just a hint of a smile before she descends into the water. Almost as you watch, she becomes the water. And the moon shines down on the placid lake, the mill pond. And then the water lilies, even though water lilies only open in the night time, where the moon shines, the water lilies open. And that seems to be the Queen's blessing on the marriage. And I suggest we end it there.
This is a very good point to end it, because bad consequences have not been mentioned yet.
Yes.
Now, if we were doing the full game, obviously there'd be experience points. There'd be an aftermath of this. There may still be many bad consequences. But let's just say that then, when the dawn comes, not only does Thomas not turn into a fawn again, but the children are transformed from their animal forms into real 3-dimensional children again. And you appear to have lifted the curse from the village. But I think you're right. They've got to carry on thanking the Queen every year at least for their for the bounty she brings, the lush pastures that they've forgotten about.
Well, someone's going to write a book about it, so they better don't forget.
And with that, the villagers know that they really should take this seriously.
And the doctor should write something about Thomas's mental illness, which made him forget everything and run away from the army, so he doesn't get
Oh, God, yes.
Court-martialed, yeah, that would be
And
bad.
executed. Hopefully not. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Very good. We are going to take care of everything.
Yeah.
So, since it's now pretty late, I'd say we
Brilliant.
wrap this
Yeah,
up
that took
quickly.
3 hours rather than 2. I'm sorry about that, but it's because your role playing was all so great, and I just loved sort of sitting back and watching your conversations.
I'm sorry, it happens.
And it was great fun, I have to say that.
It was a lot of fun. It was very, very, very moody, very beautiful description, and I'm honestly very happy that we managed to visit Sweden last summer, because I could kind of put the pictures of the places we knew in there.
I knew exactly what the church looked like.
Yes, what the church around the place would look like. And as the chat was also very excited and liked the storytelling, and they said like they got like little, basically Lady Hawk vibes, if anyone else knows the movie.
Oh yeah.
A little bit of Lady Hawk. It's actually inspired by there's an American group called the Decemberists, who have a lovely album that I recommend everybody should listen to, called The Hazards of Love.
Oh.
And quite a lot of elements of this come from that story. So, so anybody listening, break out the Decemberists Hazards of Love on your Spotify or your iTunes or whatever it is you listen to it. Have a listen to that. It's great.
And
All
have
modern,
it as a let it run in the background if you ever rewatch this. That is. So thank you so much, Matthew.
Well, thank you for
game
playing.
mastering
It's
this
been a
for
great
us.
pleasure. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's not been so horrific this time. I ran the Silver of the Sea for Spiel a couple of days ago, and that pretty much could have killed everybody. But
no, this one was actually rather beautiful. And thank you everyone else. And then I'm going to send you off to bed, because we're waiting for our one last guest for our final, basically wind down show of the night. And I'm just going to let him enter and bid goodbye to you. So thank you, Evie, Nico, Julia,
Thank you very
Tim.
much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.